Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
What's going on, folks? Welcome into the Fairways of Life show. I am so pumped about today's show. You know, when we started the Fairways of Life show back in 2006, the reason why we started it was to get a chance to speak to legends of the game so that we could capture the history of the sport in their words and from their eyes. And today, we are joined by a World Golf Hall of Fame member that has had a hugely distinctive impact on the game in a variety of different areas of note. Tom Kite was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame in 2004. 37 professional wins to his credit. 19 times he did that on the PGA Tour. He won the 1992 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. He won the 1989 Players. 7 times he represented the United States on the Ryder Cup team. In 1997, he was the team's captain. He had 10 wins in the PGA Tour Champions, including another major championship there. But that wasn't all the stuff that he did. The impact that he had from the equipment area, the impact that he had in the fitness area, all of which I plan on discussing with him today. But get this. This is what I mean about the significance of this, that I think for some reason through the sands of time, this significance people start to forget about. And I'm glad that we have this opportunity to remind and to discuss. Tom Kite played in 109 major championships. He had 27 top 10s. In 109 major championships, 27 top 10s. He had 16 top 5s. All told, he played in 1,150 tour events. Along with his 29 wins, he had 49 runner-up finishes and 37 third-place finishes. That means he averaged a top 3 finish every 10 events for 6 decades of professional golf. Are you kidding me? He played in pro events in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 210s, and the 220s. That is the man that you'll be hearing from today. It's a pleasure to welcome Tom Kite to the show. Tom, thank you for your time, my friend. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great, man. Nice to be with you today.
It's incredible. I mean, all of this is incredible. There are so many different places, Tom, where we could start because of the impact that you have made on golf history. And I do intend to get to them. But I thought if you would allow, obviously I want to talk to you about the 92 U.S. Open, and I will. But I wanted to go down the road of some of those events that you featured in that were so distinctive. Let me give you an example, folks. At the Masters, you came in second or shared second in 83 and 86 and 97. Let's start talking about 1983 for a second when Seve ended up winning by 4 strokes over you and your Texas friend, Ben Crenshaw. It's incredible. Your thoughts about that year?
Well, I mean, obviously Seve was at the peak of his game at that time. He was one of the world-class players and had done so many things up to that point. And, that was also the time frame that I was really starting to play well. I really started coming into my own in the really the late 70s and into the early 80s. 81 is really kind of my first big year that really got things going. And it was a great run. And, Seve, when he was good, he was very, very good and hard to beat.
In 1986, championship final round, 15th hole, you're tied, 3-way tied for the lead.
Right.
From the eyes and from the perspective and from the heart of Tom Kite, if you could share with us what happened through those final holes, right down to the birdie putt at 18. But I don't want to define it. I'm going to ask you, if I may, what are your thoughts about what took place on that Sunday? What do you remember?
Well, it was an incredible day. It was really kind of one of those interesting days where the eventual winner of the tournament was really not even in the picture until right at the very end. It's like a guy coming from way back in the pack, and all of a sudden this horse has this strange burst and overtakes the entire field. But throughout most of the day, it was a competition between Greg Norman, Seve, and myself. And Nicky Price was there early on, but he struggled a little bit on the front nine. So by the time we got to the back nine, it really was a competition between the three of us. And Jack was a couple of groups ahead of us, and I guess 3 groups ahead of Nick and Greg. And again, he was, up until the very end, he was an afterthought. He was just kind of one of those role players. And of course, if you play the last 10 holes at Augusta National in 7 under par, you're going to pass a lot of people. And he ended up passing the whole field and ended up winning the tournament in what, as you said, arguably is maybe the greatest Masters that there's ever been, or certainly one of the most memorable Masters that there've been in a long, long time.
Did you know what was going on in front of you with Jack Nicklaus, by, as they say, by the cheers, by the way that the patrons were reacting? Could you tell in your heart what was going on?
Well, you knew some stuff was happening, that's for sure. But you have those roars and the cheers that the patrons have there at Augusta National. And of course, it just down in the valley, it just echoes through those pines, and so you know what's going on. And of course, Augusta National has always prided themselves on really cool leaderboards. They're not electronics like we have at so many of our tournaments, but this is the old style where they actually get up there and they set a number in there, and so when they put the number up there, the crowd reacts. Not only the crowd that saw the putt go in, but then the people, when they put the number up on the scoreboard on a couple different holes, then that crowd reacts. So you get all the emotion and everything going on, and it's really hard. I would say with the leaderboard the way it is at Augusta National, it's probably more difficult to avoid the leaderboard than it is at any other tournament. The electronic scoreboard, you can kind of put it off in the back of your mind and get it out of sight. But those leaderboards at the Masters are they're in your face, they're huge, and they evoke some unbelievable responses from the patrons and from the players.
The evoking of responses, and specifically the emotions that you were talking about, in 1997, when you finished second to Tiger that year, were you able at that time, did you realize immediately the significance of that victory, or did it take some time for you, or for the golf world, if you please, to have it kind of settle in as to what just happened?
Well, Tiger burst on the scene in '96, and everybody, had a real interest into what he was going to do, because he came with so much notoriety, and his reputation was so huge. And of course, I was with Ben Crenshaw over the weekend, this past week, and he reminded us of a great story. We were playing a course down in Houston called Carlton Woods. And Ben was reminded, he said, when Tiger came on the scene, somebody asked Seve Lau what he thought of Tiger Woods. And he said, I really don't know, because I haven't played it yet. Talking about thinking it was a golf course. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh, so we were at Carlton Woods, and it reminded that. But, for the most part, everybody knew about Tiger and knew he was going to have a great career. And that was the year that the Masters Committee reacted. That was the first effort to Tiger-proof a golf course, to try to set up a golf course so difficult that even he would have trouble playing it. The problem is, when they did that, it played right into his game plan and worked perfectly for him, because Tiger was longer than anybody in the field at the time. I mean, even though he's a skinny little kid, he had mega speed and hit the ball way longer than everybody else. And they got the greens rock hard. And so everybody was going in there with more club and having trouble stopping the ball and getting it close to the hole. And of course, Tiger's going in there with less club, hitting it hard, spinning it like crazy, and getting it much closer to the hole. And then on top of that, he had a great week of putting where he went the entire week and did not have a 3-putt. And all of a sudden, you get a 12-shot victory. And in my case, I kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, like, even worse than what Tiger did. Tiger started off with 40 on the first 9 holes, but I started off with 77 the first day. So I was struggling like crazy just to make the cut. And when I made the cut with a good second round, that moved me up and into nice position. And then I just kept playing well. So I had a good second, third, and fourth round, and allowed me to finish second, though a distant second.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, that second and third round, folks, to his credit, not even the final round, 69, 66, and 70 for Tom Kite after that opening round. And I think it's the measure, Tom, of who you are, not only the duration of your excellence over decades, but you mentioned starting to play well in the late 1970s. And in 1978, you were second at the Open. That was the year it was held at St. Andrews. Once again, it was a shared position of second with Owen and Floyd and Crenshaw and yourself. But Jack Nicklaus won that one. The people that you tangled with to win your events over that span, it's mind-blowing when you think about it. And to think that you finished second to Jack Nicklaus at St. Andrews, again, it's just, when you think that it was 1970, all of it, for all those reasons, it's head-scratching to think about how long your duration of competitiveness and excellence was.
Well, I was lucky. I had a lot of good breaks, and I was able to avoid injuries throughout most of my career. But I was able to hang around a lot of really good people, and of course, a lot of that advice came from Harvey Penick. His line of "go to dinner with good putters" meant hang around a lot of really good players and really good people that had great attitudes, and so I think a lot of my longevity is the fact that. Other than the fact that I absolutely love hitting golf balls and I love playing golf and I love competition, is the fact that I was able to surround myself with friends and family that really encouraged me and allowed me to chase my dream and to some degree have some success.
Yeah, to some degree. This man is a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame, a major champion, and as we talked about, some very close calls and some very distinctive majors. When we come back, I want to talk to him about the one that he did break through on and why that one was so incredibly distinctive. The stage alone, Pebble Beach, already tells you that drama is inherent. We'll have that story as the Fairways of Life show continues with the legendary Tom Kite right after this.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The Gen 6 iron is a culmination of everything that we have learned as a team, the absolute best golf club I've ever hit. It's something special. Say hello to the new PXG Gen 6 iron. The longest, most accurate irons we've ever made. They go higher and farther than any iron that I have hit to date, and they're so easy to hit. Super excited for the consumer to try these. They're gonna love them.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm gonna go after PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy? Getting the 524 series from Tour Edge.
Getting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're gonna need all the easy you can get. Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge. The easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy.
I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com. Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show. Our guest is the legendary Tom Kite, a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. That picture that you're looking at, I asked Andrew to zoom in on it because that's actually to my upper left. That's in the studio. That's in the Fairways of Life studio every day. That one means a great deal to me. That was the first major that I had attended on the West Coast in Pebble Beach in 1992 and had that framed up for my dad and had it signed by, as you can see on the left, Tom Kite, Jack Nicklaus, and above where it says United States Open, you can see Tom Watson had signed it. And when my dad passed away, they gave the picture back to me. And so we have it hanging up here in the studio, and it is so cool. And I'm not going to take it out of that frame. I'm not going to have Graham and Tiger sign it ever. It's going to stay just the way that it is forevermore. It truly is one of my prized golf possessions, and it's very much because of what Tom Kite did on that week in 1992. Tom, I remember from early on in that week, the weather, at least from the perspective of the wind, but it was more than that, but the weather, at least from the perspective of the wind, was really unsettled. And it didn't diminish as the week carried on. I'm sure if people go on to YouTube and watch the old videos, they'll see on Sunday that it was sunny, but the wind was so stout. I guess just from the beginning of that U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, what were your memories early in the week in terms of how you were feeling, how you were playing, what your hopes and expectations were?
Well, the really interesting thing about that, Matt, is that if you recall, the first part of the week before the tournament ever started, all the guys were talking about what a fair setup it was, that it was, one of the fairest setups that the USGA had ever had for a U.S. Open, which, if you understand where a tour pro comes from, that means that they think they can get it. They think they can make some birdies out there, and that there are some opportunities. Greens were a little softer, fairways were a little softer, and the conditions were ripe for shooting some low scores. And on Thursday and even into Friday, we had some really nice weather conditions, and it did result in some low scores. And it was the first time a player ever got it to double digits under par in a U.S. Open championship, and that was Gil Morgan. He eventually got it to 12 under par, which was an incredible score at any U.S. Open. But there were a number of other players that were playing pretty well and hanging in there. But Friday afternoon and into Saturday, everything changed. The weather conditions got progressively worse, and the USGA, trying to toughen up the golf course, started drying out the greens and drying out the fairways, and they didn't put a lot of water on that golf course. And with those high winds that eventually came in there, the golf course almost became unplayable. to the testament that, even though 12 under par led the tournament at one time, I ended up shooting 3 under par and won the tournament by 2 shots, and only 2 people shot under par for the entire week. So, it was almost like 2 different tournaments. It was, what happened the first part of the week, where it was very gettable, and then the vengeance of the weather and the vengeance of the USGA took its toll on everybody.
The image that's indelible, I think, for most people about that U.S. Open was you on the par 3 7th. And everyone looks at it and says, with the shot that you hit, and this ties into part of your story that is so classic, which I want to get into in detail about you with the 60-degree wedge and all the rest. But it really started from the tee shot. And I wonder if you could just talk to us about that iconic hole and the role that it played on that championship Sunday.
Well, I mean, the golf course was incredibly difficult all the way through. And there was, everybody was leaking oil and throughout, from the word go. It was just so difficult. And by the time we got to number 7, it was like, holy moly, this is somehow let's just survive this thing. And it's hard to imagine the conditions so difficult that on a 105-yard downhill par 3 that players would be hitting 8 irons and 7 irons and 6 irons and 5 irons, just trying to do anything to get the ball to somehow stay underneath the wind and try to control it. Out of the last 15 groups, the last 30 players that came through, one person hit that green in regulation from 105 yards, and just shows you the difficulty of that. I took a 6 iron and tried to knock it down and tried to hold it into the wind, but again, the wind was so strong that it took my ball way left of the green, as it did so many other players, and just had this pretty difficult shot coming over the edge of the bunker to a rock hard green. The only saving grace that I did have was that it was playing slightly into the wind. But if you watch that shot and watch its reaction on the green, you can see that ball would have gone quite a distance away past the hole had it not hit that pin. But hit the pin dead center and fell in, and you can tell from my reaction, it was just a sign of relief. It was like, wow, something good happened. But now I've got 8, 9. I've got 11 straight holes. What's going to be almost pure hell trying to get to the clubhouse.
Do you think about that victory every single day? Is that where your mind goes when you're looking at the dancing embers of the fires and maybe a drink in your hand and reflect?
Well, Matt, I walk into my study and I've got the flag from the 7th hole that flew on that thing hanging on the wall in there, and so it's kind of hard for me not to. But the green superintendent after I won the tournament, he said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And most of the time, players like to get the 18th green, but my caddy Mike Carrick, he had dibs on the 18th green flag, and I wanted number 7 for that reason.
It's absolutely incredible. You heard me mention the club chosen to extract that shot from its position on 7, which, by the way, was the grass between the ball and the wedge face, and when you hit that shot on 7?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was, I didn't have a terrible lie considering how deep the rough was. The problem that I had is where I hit it is the place where people exit the 7th green going to the 8th tee. And so all the grass was leaning into me as I'm coming through there. So it's, it wasn't sitting way down like so many lies we had that week, but right into the grain. So it was not an easy shot at all.
Now, using a high lofted wedge, and this is what I'm getting at, folks, talking to you about the significance of this man that you're hearing from right now. He impacted the game and changed the game in multiple ways. One of them was the adoption of a 60-degree wedge. And when he did it, it was not normal, and it was met with a lot of raised eyebrows. But there was science behind it and conviction behind it, and then, of course, he proved it through execution. Could you talk to us, Tom, about that very important part of your history that now is just a regular part of the game that people who are very, very good with that surgical part of the game have you to thank?
Well, I thank or criticize me for that. I know a lot of people have trouble with the lofted wedge, and you know, I think it's a great advantage to have that much loft in your bag, if especially if you're playing some of the difficult golf courses that we play now. You know, that was an idea that came out of Dave Pelz, you know, the short game instructor, and Dave was a good friend, and he came out on tour and watched a number of us in our endeavors to play well, and of course I had a pretty good short game. It was really good, but Dave kind of kept some stats on a number of us, and he came to me in the early 80s and suggested that if I put a 60-degree wedge in, or a more lofted club, you know, the normal loft on a sand wedge in those days was 56 degrees. And so he was suggesting something with more loft that I could hit full and not have it go very far, where I could make a fuller swing and have more control over it, put more spin on it, and have it go a shorter distance. And you know, I kind of was a little dubious and skeptical of some of his thoughts. And so for about 6 months, I kept my own stats, and I charted every shot that I had, you know, at 210 all the way down to 30 yards at 10-yard increments. And I put it on a little chart. And I found that when I was hitting a full shot, I had tremendous control over the distance. But the dispersion was left and right, especially when I got up in the 190s and 200s and stuff like that. As I got closer, down to about 130 yards, you know, everything kind of came down. I got more control over the distance, but I also got a lot more control over the accuracy, and I almost had a perfect circle around the target. When I got inside 100 yards, and especially inside 70 yards, what I found was that I had great control over the accuracy, but less control over the distance. And so, you know, what I would find is that I hit a lot of really good looking wedges and would come up 15 or 20 feet short, or 15 feet past. And, you know, if you hit it 20 feet past, you might as well have hit it 20 feet to the right. And, you know, everybody would complain about hitting a 70-yard wedge 20 feet to the right, but, you know, they hit it 25 feet past and think, oh, man, that was a great swing. But, you know, you didn't have the right touch. And, of course, back in the early 80s, you know, PGA Tour average in making putts was about 50% from 6 feet. So the goal was to get it inside 6 feet so you had a good chance of making the putt. And when I found out that Dave was right, I put a club in there that had more loft and shorter length shaft. And when I came out of my shoes and just hit it as hard as I could hit it about 70 yards. And so when I got 30 and 40 yards, I was able to make a much fuller, more aggressive swing and control the ball better. And you know, immediately my game was elevated a significant amount. Should have got a patent on it. If I had, I'd been much better off. But I did have it to myself for about 2 or 3 years until everybody started seeing my stroke average going down, and then they started copying it.
That's so classic. And that year that Tom's talked about, 1981, remember, he was tops of the money list and everything else. Players watch what other players do. I remember hearing the story about Gene Sarazen when he first came out with the 56-degree sand wedge. It was a Wilson sand wedge, and he had it at the Open. He put it head down. He had the grip sticking out because he was afraid too many people would see it, and the officials as well. We're going to continue with Tom Kite on the Fairways of Life show this morning. When we come back, I do want to talk to him about he played during a time started in which what I call when giants roamed. were some of the greatest players the game has ever seen. I'm not talking about depth through 156 players necessarily. I'm talking about 20 to 30 players that it was like a bar fight every single week. Look how many of them are in the Hall of Fame. Look how many of them are major champions and more. That is a direction that we shall go down. He was talking to us about the people that he surrounded himself with and how that contributed to his success. This is part of those people that he surrounded himself with. Harvey Pinnock is part of those people he surrounded himself with, and more with Tom Kite right after this.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The Gen 6 iron is a culmination of everything that we have learned as a team, the absolute best golf club I have ever hit. It's something special. Say hello to the new PXG Gen 6 iron. The longest, most accurate irons we've ever made. They go higher and farther than any iron that I have hit to date, and they're so easy to hit. Super excited for the consumer to try this. They're gonna love them.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm going to go after PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy? Hitting the 524 series from Tour Edge.
Hitting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're going to need all the easy you can get. Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge. The easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy.
I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Order yours and save. Visit zerofriction.com/stride or scan the QR code to order yours today. Stride, your personal caddy.
Tom Kite is my guest in the Fairways of Life show today. So, Tom, when you won that 1992 U.S. Open, did it validate, and I don't necessarily mean to the world, you know, at the time where they're saying you're the best player that hasn't won a major yet, what have you, but you won. You got your major, now it's yours. Did it validate what you already knew? Did it change anything? How much of a relief did it take off your shoulders at the time?
Well, you know, I think in terms of what people perceive as my career, yeah, I think to some degree it validated that. You know, somebody's always got that title, the best player to not win a major championship, and unfortunately, I had it for a long, long time. I think it's really unfair when people start talking about, oh, he's the best player never to won a major championship, and he's 28 years old. It's kind of like, well, that's probably a little too early to start throwing those titles at somebody like that. But when you get in your late 30s and in my case, early 40s, and have had the career that I had and done the things that I had done, that was really an omission. And it was something that I always wanted to get. I thought I would win major championships way more often than that, and way earlier in my career, but it didn't happen. So when it finally did happen, when I was 42 years old, it was quite a relief. In terms of, did it change anything? Not really. Maybe the perception that people have of me and the recognition that I get for my accomplishments in golf is elevated. But fortunately, I had a great family and a great support system, and had I not won the U.S. Open Championship, I think all those people would still love me and be supportive of me. So it didn't really change my life a whole lot, but I think the perception that people have of me is probably a little different.
You were on so many, as we opened up the show, discussing specifically the United States Ryder Cup teams that you were a part of. And because we were talking about 1981, it pops in my mind because I still think 1981 could have been the greatest United States Ryder Cup team of all time. What of your memories from a long career on the Ryder Cup side stick with you today? Where does your mind go for that?
Well, it's interesting. We were just down in Houston and at the Insperity tournament, and at the Pro-Am dinner, they have an award that Dave Marr Jr. gives out to one deserving player, and Marco won it this year, which is very deserving. But Dave Marr was the captain of the '81 Ryder Cup team, and so anytime we get around Dave Jr., that subject comes up, and we had this event called the Greats of Golf, and Trevino and Watson and Player and Nicklaus, and there were so many members of that Ryder Cup team. There were 8 members that were down there for the Greats of Golf that were on the 1981 Ryder Cup team, it was great to get around those guys because historically that was acknowledged to be one of the best, if not the best, American Ryder Cup team there's ever been. I guess it's kind of like the dream team in basketball, that first Olympics, when you had the dream team go in there. When you look back, the 1981 Ryder Cup team is golf's version of that.
It's incredible. The last time I had the pleasure of seeing you in person and shaking your hand was at the Ryder Cup in Rome.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When you look at where the United States Ryder Cup team is now, I'm going to try to ask the question straight up so I don't in any way lead you. What are your thoughts in terms of where things are at?
Well, I think, the professional game right now is not in a great place. I think golf is in a phenomenal place. The amateur golf and, the fact that so many people are playing, people have been trying to get the game to grow for decades, and all we needed was a pandemic to do it. And, all of a sudden, more and more people are playing golf and enjoying the game, and there's so many different ways of playing golf now with Top Golf and all sorts of different vehicles to go out there and take advantage of the game. But the professional game right now is in especially on the men's side, specifically on the men's side, is not in a good place. When you start taking some of the top players and you take them away from the tournaments, it dilutes the field, and what's going on right now is really sad in my mind, and the bad thing about it is that, it's all about money. And golf, I'm a professional athlete, so I played for the money, so I understand it. But, there's always been something about golf. It's just, you play for the history, and if you create a little bit of history, well, then you make some money and you do well. And, I know a lot of players have different lifestyles, and what's enough for one person might not be enough for somebody else. But the PGA Tour provided for a lot of players and did a very good job of that, and provided for them and their families, and beyond their families, it provided for foundations that they've set up and allowed them to do charity work and give back to the game and support hospitals and support causes that are meaningful to them. And I just have a tough time thinking that anything could be better than what the PGA Tour has offered throughout the years, and to have these players become so single-minded that, I want money for me and I want money to take care of my family. Well, your family's taken care of probably 5 or 6 generations down the line, long before you jump ship. So, I'm kind of sad with what's going on in the men's professional game right now.
More with this legend coming up. The PGA Tour Superstore is the presenting sponsor of the Fairways of Life show, the #1 golf retailer in the land. Find what you're looking for. Shop with the pros at your happy place.
I got ball fit in 2000, went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
I think when you're training for other sports, or why most people go to the gym is so that they can have muscles and be strong and be healthy. And a lot of the reason why they struggle to play golf is their body doesn't move properly for them to be able to hit a golf ball. And when you're training for golf, it's a little bit different because you're focused more on flexibility and mobility and being strong in motion. When you're able to kind of have a warm up and have a workout routine and kind of gradually build up to where you're training your body to move properly, yeah, you're going to get a lot of big dividends on the golf course.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
What if we started a company and the company was under no time constraints, no financial constraints? The one constraint is their clubs had to be exceptional performers and much better than any other alternative. I was told time and again it'll never work. It worked like a house of fire. And I'll tell you what, I think our customers love it. BXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
When I have mentioned a couple of times, and you do through just the weaving of your stories naturally because it's your life, that your entire career you have had touchstones, epic battles, and crossroads with the game's legends. When we were just talking about the Ryder Cup, for an example, most singles points won all time. Arnold Palmer, 7. Billy Casper, 7. Lee Trevino, 7. Gene Littler, 6.5. Tom Kite, 6. Sam Snead, 6. Most foursome points won. Lanny Watkins, 9. Arnold Palmer, 9. Billy Casper, 9. Jack Nicklaus, 8. Tom Kite, 7.5. Tom, everywhere you go in your career, you bump into an all-time legend on your pathway to your own distinctive part of history that you own. One of them that I'm interested in, which I haven't mentioned his name yet in this interview, is Ben Hogan. You're both Texas guys. I remember the magazine ad with you and Mr. Hogan and sitting in the chair, and it was so distinctive, right? All these, I don't even know how many years ago we're talking about, but so distinctive that it continues to resonate in the memory. I guess if I may, the place I'd like to start with talking about legends is ask you about you and Ben Hogan.
Well, you don't grow up in Texas and not idolize not only Ben Hogan but Byron Nelson. From that generation, there was the big three. It was Nelson and Hogan and Snead, and I was fortunate enough to have had contact with Mr. Hogan and Mr. Nelson just because of my Texas roots, and would run into them. Had a chance to watch Mr. Hogan hit some golf balls out of Shady Oaks one time, pretty late, in his life. But it was just a great experience to have those two people as your role models, for somewhat different reasons. Mr. Hogan, the game never came easy to him, not like it did with Nelson and Snead. Those were two really, really great athletes, and the game came relatively easy to them. To Hogan, it was a struggle, and he had to battle through it. And it was late in his career or late in his life, his sporting life, before he really started having some success. And once he did start having that success, he never let go. I use that a lot as my blueprint. You look at me, I'm not a great athlete or anything. There's certainly a lot better athletes, bigger, faster, stronger than I am. But I used a lot of what Mr. Hogan did as kind of a blueprint for my game. To, if you go at it really hard and really study the game as much as you can and try to build on your strengths and try to correct your weaknesses, well then, you're going to have some success. So he was a great role model for me.
Do you recall any, either overtly or just something that you observed from Ben Hogan? Did he leave you any messages in terms of, again, advice spoken or otherwise, that you continue to carry with you today?
Well, I mean, he encouraged me every time I got around him and everything. He acknowledged the fact he had heard how much I love to practice and how hard I don't call it work at my game. If a 12-year-old kid goes out to the golf course and spends all day out at the golf course, everybody says, man, that kid's having fun. If a 38-year-old man goes out and spends all day at a golf course like that, they say he's working hard. I don't really understand the difference. To me, it was always fun to try to figure out how to play the game and try to, better myself as much as I can. But, he heard and observed how much I love to practice and tried to work on my game. So he was always very encouraging for me to continue to do that. And when I had success, when I won the Players Championship, when I won the U.S. Open, obviously I got some very, very nice letters from him that I still treasure to this day.
Whoa. There was I guess from an iconic standpoint, people talk about a mystique that surrounds Ben Hogan, a certain mystery where we don't have full knowledge of what the man was like. We only have this legend, the steely-eyed legend. What was it like when you were around him as another man, as another human being? Was he the steely-eyed Ben Hogan that we're told about, or was there a true warmth there with him?
Well, for me, there was the warmth. But, I came in contact with him after his playing days were over, so I really can't address what he was like when he was playing. I'm sure he was very difficult to play against and was very focused on his game, and was obviously very, very difficult to beat. But by the time I really got to spend a lot of time with him, when I signed with the Hogan Company, and he was in the, he would go hit balls from time to time, but he was mainly in the factory, and every time I went up there, he was super welcoming to me, and have a really good friend who was a pilot for American Airlines, and he was is an avid golfer, and he would always go in and to the bookstores and try to find any of the great books and magazines that had some golf articles or were surrounded on or were concentrated on golf. And he picked up a couple of the Life magazines. There were 2 articles, one in '54 and one in 1955, that talked about Ben Hogan and how he was playing, and keying on what his secret was and everything. And this friend of mine got me a couple of copies of those magazines, and on one of my trips up to the Hogan factory, I was brazen enough to take those up there to get Mr. Hogan to sign those for me. And when I laid them out on his office, he kind of looked down, and he actually took his glasses off and he cleaned them a little bit and put them back on, and looked at it, and I mean, he didn't say a word for the longest time. And then finally he looked up at me and he said, that looks like a pretty good golf swing to me. And I said, yeah, I think so. And he was great. I have nothing but great things to say about Mr. Hogan.
It is so cool, Tom. It is so great to get an opportunity to catch up with you, to get your memories of what was, to get your perspective on what's going on right now, to talk about the people in your life that made a difference. We didn't even have time to talk about Harvey Penick, and we will going down the road. My mind keeps going back to, I remember you and I were talking on the day, this would have been 14 plus years ago, on the day that you turned 60 years old. Mm-hmm. And I remember asking you something akin to, what do you think this means for your golf game? And you said to me, paraphrasing, you said, Matty, I still don't know how good I can be at this game. And I thought that was such an amazing perspective. Does Tom Kite still have that perspective today?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm not competing anymore, and not playing nearly as much golf, not hitting nearly as many golf balls as I used to. But yeah, I know how good I've been. I can go back and read some of the articles, and I have some memories of things that I've done. So I know how good I was, and I know how, what I did in the past. But, what's going forward, I don't know. I'm 74 years old right now, and I still enjoy playing golf. I'm fortunate here in Austin. There are still a number of members of the Austin Country Club, of people that I grew up with, that I went to junior high school and high school and college with. And a lot of those people took lessons from Harvey Penick. And so those guys are still, they all have good grips. They all set their hands on the club properly, and they all have pretty good swings. And we've all lost speed, and we're not nearly as good as we once were. But, those are guys that for over 60 years, 65 years, we've played with and against each other through the years, and I still enjoy getting out with them. I'm planning on playing this afternoon with a couple of guys that I went to junior high school with. So, but even though I enjoy being with those guys, I don't want them to beat me. I still want to be able to take care of those guys. And so, the goal is, nothing's, my desires to play well haven't changed at all. My ability to not play poorly certainly has been lessened as I've gotten older and less flexible and just don't move as well. But my desires to play well are still there. And so when I get out there, I promise you, I'm still trying on every shot as hard as I can. As Harvey Penick would say, I'm trying to take dead aim.
Trying to take dead aim. The impact you've had on the game has been a dead aim. World Golf Hall of Fame member. The impact you had with the equipment, the impact you had with fitness, the impact you've had with golf architecture and more. Long may it continue. My friend, Tom Kite, thank you very much for what you have meant to the game of golf, and thank you very much indeed today for the amount of time that you've spent with us.
Matt, always a pleasure to be with you. I enjoy watching you, and keep bringing these good stories to the golf public. We need your perspective for sure.
Thank you very much, sir. This is it. This is why we do what we do, to get a chance to speak to legends like Tom Kite and relive history. Quite remarkable. Thank you so much for your company, folks. Bye for now.